All right, so the speech was made about 6 hours ago, and the reactions, as you've been hearing all afternoon, have been sharp and varied. The president's final State of the Nation address before the election that is now just 145 days away. So what exactly is the state of the Kenyan nation today? And did the president speak to the concerns of Wanjiko or the ordinary Kenyan out there, if you'd like? Yes, that is a discussion we're going to have this evening. My name is Joe Ageo, and I'm speaking to two men for the next hour or so who should know. One of them, of course, on my right is Jacoy Midio, is an MP for Game, but also Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly. And on my left here is Eden Duale, MP, Garissa Town, and also a majority leader, the majority leader in the National Assembly. Gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Thank you.
The president in his speech said the state of the nation is strong. Honorable Duale, do you agree?
Absolutely.
How?
Absolutely, I'll agree with the president.
We have famine, we have insecurity,
of course,
we have lots of problems in the country.
Of course, those are challenges that are not anticipated in even Vision 2030. The current drought that is taking place is not only unique to Kenya, in fact, it's more serious in Somalia, in Djibouti, in Ethiopia. But why do I agree with the president? The president gave a scorecard. He said, I promised this, I fulfilled my promise. For example, social protection. When I took over government, this was the number 720,000 Kenyans were accessing. The number has gone to 1.5 million Kenyans. I promised to build the SGR.
We'll get to the promises. Yes. We'll get to the promises, but Jacoy Midio wasn't clapping when the president was saying that, were you?
Because he was lying with a straight face to Kenyans.
Well, that's harsh.
Well, yeah, I have to be harsh to him, you know. It's my duty to tell the truth to Kenyans. Mm-hmm. So you have called us here to criticize.
So you're saying the president lied about what?
For example, 7,000 kilometers of roads. Where are they? He says they have been successful in job creation. He says they have produced 2.5 million jobs. Where are they? He has not said that the economy lost 135,000 jobs in 2016 alone in the formal sector. Forget about the millions in the informal sector. You know, he is giving wrong figures to the country. But it's interesting. The president did not talk about laptops for the first time. You know, they were calling them laptops. Then they started calling them gadgets. Then today there was no talk about them. The president did not talk about the 1 million.
But they were testing a few in some schools in West Pokot and the coast.
Are you for real? Do you believe it? I mean, why he was giving a scorecard? Why didn't he claim credit if they were being tested and if anything is working?
Honorable Duale, no laptops?
No.
The election is 145.
I think if you heard the president just gave a summary, maybe half of the achievement of his government. Mm-hmm. And I can remember in his speech he said, I'll keep on talking and talking. The laptops are there. They are in schools in my constituency. They are in his schools. You know, I think as leaders we should not come to television stations and say and lie. The laptops are there. They delayed because of the very many vendors going to court and all that. But ultimately, the laptops are there. And I think the last phase.
So you're saying there are laptops in schools in the constituency? If you went to Garissa town constituency now, if you go to
Garissa Primary School, one of the largest primary schools in the heart of Garissa town, the laptops were there, I think, 8 months ago. And I think the last.
What maker?
No, let me finish. Whether you call them, you know, digital gadgets or you call them laptops, that doesn't make a difference. The whole issue, the pledge of the Jubilee administration was to introduce, you know, an IT system at the lower level of our schools. Two, I think the president gave facts and figures. The president gave the 2 million
Jacoy
jobs.
says he hasn't seen the laptops in his constituency. Are they only going to...
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure Honorable Jacoy is a man I respect a lot. in every constituency, there were pilot schools. And it's good to be very honest as leaders. So that is there. You can come and say Joe Aguayo is lying. But let's go to the facts. You might fault the Jubilee administration that you have not done 100%. But you can make 10 key achievements of this administration. Free maternity health care. When we took over, 34% of the Kenyan women were delivering in hospital. Today it's 67. Social protection. 3 extra million Kenyans can now access, poor Kenyans, the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Key investment in the health sector. 94 hospitals in the 47 counties. Today, Kenyans don't need to walk to Kenyatta and Moi Referral Hospital. They can access dialysis, radiology, MRI, ICU, and all that. We promised the SGR, modernize a railway that was built 100 years ago. And we said we will do it before the election. The president said that. That's why it was applauded. 1st of June, 2017.
But is it not true that the SGR was not really a Jubilee project, that it was actually part of a wider project?
The SGR was negotiated, the contract was signed. It's a Jubilee project. There's this story of saying grand coalition. Those are there. The most important thing is that
but that
the
is
SGR.
That is a true story.
The most important
thing. True story?
No, it's not. The
most important. The SGR was conceived
the most
in
important
the previous
thing.
government.
The most important thing for us is whether it is Honorable Duale, the Jubilee administration pledged to build the SGR.
Now
It has finished. Let me finish. The president talked about security.
But this SGR is important, and I think, Midio, you need to respond to this.
Yeah,
So the problem is not that it's coming. The problem is the ownership.
No.
Why are we concerned about the ownership?
No, we are not.
Because the Jubilee said that we will bring it, and actually it was an ongoing project by many accounts.
And let me tell you.
What do you mean ongoing? Was there
Kibaki Raila administration left that thing at a cost of under 300 billion. Today it has cost over 600 billion. The C word which the president was avoiding today, corruption. Then the Jubilee government went ahead and said there will be high-speed electric trains. No, we have diesel engine locomotives, painted, used ones. That is the one the president is inviting Kenyans and MPs to take a ride on. I can also say I will not go for that ride. Because
let's listen to what the president was saying about corruption, because that's an important thing.
But I think before you leave the SGR, before you leave the SGR, Honorable Jakoyo is talking about an inflated price of the SGR by the Jubilee administration. Am I right? Mm-hmm. That's what he said. Yeah. Honorable Jakoyo is the minority leader in the National Assembly. Mm-hmm. 2 committees of parliament, one led by the opposition, the Public Investment Committee, and one led by a Jubilee member, the Transport Committee. Both of those committees did an investigation, tabled a clean bill of health on the floor of the House, debated. He contributed. It was approved.
I am surprised you have so much faith in Parliament.
No.
What happened between Parliament and
if you have no faith in Parliament, then why are you the minority leader?
Because you have numbers which are short of supermajority by just about 16 members. And in every case, you have used the numbers to make wrong laws and pass wrong reports.
He's talking about loss of public funds.
I am telling you, in Ethiopia,
key function in the constitution
in Ethiopia
is to protect public funds. 2 reports
that
of
is
Parliament,
that is
one led by an opposition leader, the chair of the Public Investment Committee. Honorable Jakoyo said when those 2 committees presented a verdict that the public lost no shilling in their assessment. He sits in that parliament.
No, it is not true.
Why should he lie?
It is not true. You know, in Ethiopia, they are building a longer distance high-speed rail. And I've been to Addis in the last 1 year. For 234 billion. Tanzania is even spending less. So what the opposition should do is what I am telling you. I'm pointing out what you don't want Kenyans to know. That you have spent 3 times what Addis is spending, and it has gone to people's pockets because you did promise. You know, it is about promises. You did promise Kenyans high-speed rail line and locomotives. What we have now is diesel engine. In fact, this so-called standard gauge railway does not have electric lines. It means it was set for corruption, it was set to be eaten, and it has been eaten.
Anyway,
we're talking about promises. You know, laptops. What
Joe,
the promise
Joe,
was.
Okay, I want us to talk about
Joe,
corruption in a moment.
Let me finish. Just one sentence. Yeah, just one sentence.
Okay, gentlemen, there's a reason I sat between
But you know,
you here.
One sentence.
But you know, a fundamental issue here. We need to tell the people of Kenya.
Yes.
There is a government in place and there is an opposition in place. The opposition has formed a tendency in our country that they want to do the oversight through television shows, through funerals and rallies.
How else do you do it?
You do your oversight. The standing orders even provided that the 2 serious standing select committee on public spending oversight is the public investment and the public accounts committee. You talk about wastage of investment. That is a function of the opposition.
But I am the
No,
leader.
and let me finish.
I'm telling you what my function
The
is.
9th Parliament,
Yeah.
10th Parliament, it is the chairs of the Public Accounts Committee, Uhuru Kenyatta, Jaramogi Oginga, the late Wamalwa, who came out and unearthed serious scams in those governments. The Golden Buck, the Anglo-Lytic.
But isn't that what the opposition has
They're
done
not
even
doing.
in this
They're
government?
not doing.
They've done that. I mean,
but now,
in fairness.
They're doing this in talk shows and funerals. Jacoyo participates in the adoption of a report.
In fairness, they've talked about the Eurobond, they've talked about the Northern Collector Tunnel in Muranga, they've talked about Itare Dam, they've talked about a number of things.
Those are not scandals, those are propaganda.
Itare Dam is a scandal. Itare Dam is a major scandal.
It's a propaganda.
Itare Dam is
That's an argument.
the Itare Dam.
Duale, please.
The Itare Dam.
Okay, guys, let's talk about corruption.
But I wanted just to say one thing.
Yes,
Because Duale can't get away with this. The Jubilee promise on laptops was that every kid from class 1 to class 3, by the time in their first term, shall have a laptop.
We are doing that.
And I'm telling you,
We are rolling out.
They are not using the word laptop anymore. They're using the word gadget. And they are not explaining where the 34 billion shillings went. They are not explaining.
There's no difference between your iPad and your smartphone and your laptop.
What do you mean?
In terms of technology,
What do you
in terms of ICT. The tablets.
So are you going on record, Mr. Duale,
Before
that
July.
today every single child in Kenya has a gadget given by the Jubilee administration?
Every child in a primary school in class 1 and 2 will have the gadget.
Will
by
have.
July.
Has.
Now they have.
Where?
In fact, over 40.
So are you saying that every child in primary
Joe
school in
Ageo,
Kenya today
your own station has shown ministers and government officials.
Yes, I mean there were trials.
Yes.
I mentioned them
They were
in
not,
West Pokot.
They were not
and
trials.
There were trials.
They were in phases.
that
The
CS
first
Musharo
phase
went
was
to
done.
launch. I remember
The
that.
first phase was done. Second phase was done. The third phase that will make sure each and every child will have.
So it hasn't
will
been
be in
fulfilled.
July.
It hasn't been fulfilled.
Of course,
yet.
I mean, we still have another 5 months.
Okay, let's listen to the president on corruption. Yes.
In 2013, we pledged to pursue and freeze assets and proceeds of corruption and economic crimes. We have established institutions that give us the capability to trace and recover money and assets globally which have been stolen from the public. These include the Asset Recovery Agency, the Financial Reporting Center, and the new Investigations Department at the Kenya Revenue Authority, where I am pleased to report that successes are being reported. To date, approximately 3 billion shillings has either been recovered or preserved for recovery, a first in Kenya's history. These recovered funds will be used for social programs. For example, the recently recovered funds from the Smith and Usman case have been used for the purchase of ambulances. Going forward, we are creating a framework of how recovered funds will be used in a transparent and accountable manner.
Jacob Mitibu, you can't argue with that record.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You remember the platform is saying, rather the way he's saying we can recover stolen funds and all that, I can't get a proper word. He has not mentioned the Office of Auditor General, whom he chastised for trying to go to Federal Reserve of New York to investigate Eurobond. 283 billion, which has not seen the light of day in Kenya. Then he goes on to say that the monies recovered from Smith and Usman will be used for social programs. We do the budgeting. Nobody has asked us what to do with the Kenyan funds. Really, Article 1 of our Constitution, supremacy of the people. He cannot decide that without coming to Parliament. Number two, in another section of his speech, the president thanks the same people who stole the money that has been recovered, the former IEBC commissioners. He has refused to take them to court. Court in London.
But the president doesn't take anyone to court.
No, but they control. Let me tell you something. You cannot purport to be in forefront against fight against corruption on one side and say you don't control the systems.
Well, I mean, he's leading the conversation, he's the president, fine, but these are independent
why
offices.
did he bring, in 2015, why did he bring the list? And why hasn't he today spoken about Muraguri? Why hasn't he spoken about the theft in the health sector? This double standard is not good for our people. The president of our country must inspire confidence.
Mheshimiwa Duale, in two years ago, in the State of the Nation address, the president brought a list, the famous list of 175 cases.
I think you don't need to be very selective. You need first me to comment on that statement of the president, as you gave it to Honorable Jacob.
It's the same corruption.
It's not the same.
Yes.
I mean, his view is different from my view. You should have started that. I mean, you're taking back to the last 2 years.
Which curiously he didn't which he didn't talk about today.
We are here to discuss the State of the Nation address of the president that happened today, and go further and discuss the previous ones in connection. So what the president said is that, number one, is the first administration that recovered over 3 billion of stolen assets. That is an achievement. Secondly, the president said his administration has done a number of legislation in the war against corruption. The establishment of the Financial Reporting Center, the establishment of the Asset Recovery Center, the many amendments we did on the Prisons of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act, the establishment coming from government, I said, of the bribery bill, anti-bribery bill for the private sector, more resources given to the institutions that fight corruption, EACC, DPP, Auditor General, more prosecutors. Those are the achievements that the president said my administration did. Now let me come to
what he didn't say.
No. Let me come to what he didn't say. 2 years ago, the president gave a list of 175 people. From where he sits as the head of the executive, the president says, on the mere allegations, step aside. That the file that have been submitted to by the EACC, you have been mentioned, step aside. Cabinet ministers, permanent secretaries, CEOs. Until today, none of them has been charged. And that time, the president brought the file because EACC, under the obligation of the law, which says they must submit a report to Parliament and the presidency, he brought it to Parliament.
So you are saying
so
today,
maybe EACC.
So you are saying today the president doesn't know
no,
whether those CSAs
maybe yes,
were corrupt or not.
The president, on mere allegation, the function of investigation, prosecuting, and convicting lies with institutions outside the presidency. Independent institutions, the EACC, the DPP, the judiciary. Maybe we need to ask EACC, did you submit a new file?
But you remember,
because SRC,
when the president took that list to Parliament, the question arose, why did the president take the list to Parliament? Where did he get it? Why did he make commitments like, this is a red line I'm drawing on the fight against corruption?
Absolutely.
And yet he turns around and says, well, you know, these are all independent.
No, absolutely. The president, by law, receives reports from independent institutions. It's only him and Parliament. So by ESC giving him the file, there was no crime committed. So he felt he should act on that file and said both national and county government members of government who are mentioned must step aside. That is as far as he could have done. Today, maybe they didn't give a fine. And today, he can't say, why have you not convicted?
But can I say something?
In fact, we should have
can I say something?
Them, 2 years down the line, why have you not convicted
Majority Leader.
175 members?
Majority Leader, the president said his hands are tied. He has done everything. But right now, there is a major scandal with containers which cost 300,000 shillings.
It's with the EACC.
Let me just finish. Let me just finish. That those are with the EACC,
yes,
as you're saying.
Yes.
But the permanent secretary, the permanent secretary who authored that theft is still in office. If Charity Ngilu can go home just by what you're calling mere allegation, then my friend Michael Kamau goes home on some charge, and we must correct you for saying they have not been charged. They have been charged. They are saying obstruction of justice.
No, they have been charged.
Yeah, but let me just finish.
On those allegations, but they have not been convicted.
But now, here is a case where somebody has obstructed justice, and the government, which is my friend Dwell is saying is mere allegation. But here is a case where somebody has authored theft of 5.6 billion and is building a house in Nyeri bigger than the KTN building in Nairobi. A simple civil servant.
The defense wasn't the defense that this was an interim audit.
That's what I'm saying.
Final queries that were raised.
Then, if it is an interim, if it's an interim audit, Joe, just a minute, you had your chance. If it's an interim audit, so be it understood. But so why did the auditor who unearthed the scandal, why was he transferred? Why? What were we trying to protect? Secondly, I want my friend Honorable Dwelly to tell Kenyans, because this is as national as it gets. When the president brought the list, number one, don't they think that that list which went to the president and the president ascertained its authenticity before he brought it to the other arm of government, which is Parliament? Who took out the name of the Chicken Gate scandal architects? Who took out the name of Anne Waiguru from that list? Because you can see, if you look at the list, it's whitewashed. I mean, how can a president bring a list?
Joe.
How can a president bring a list to Parliament?
Joe.
And then now, today, the president has said, when he was talking about corruption, and when he was talking about achievements, he spoke about NYS and said just a small hitch. He never said there was corruption in NYS. So, I mean, if you read between the things the president was telling us and the way my majority leader is talking, you can see that he... But it would be nice for him to answer those questions. Just answer.
I'll answer.
Yeah.
Answer the questions. Answer the questions.
Joe, there's a fundamental difference between facts and fiction. And you know, if I was sitting on his chair I will say this is what the Jubilee government has done, but this is our alternative and we will do better. You know, the file that EACC submitted to the president and demanded by the Constitution is the same file submitted to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, where there are 11 members of the court coalition. Same file. You don't come and talk about whitewash. I think Kenya has grown out of that.
But he raised an issue of NYS that you also complained about.
No, let me finish.
You also complained bitterly about it.
Let me finish. I'm coming to it. The serious matter. Okay. We said when Anne Waiguru and all those who are involved in NYS, the top hierarchy, when serious allegations are confirmed and the president was briefed, the president relieved Anne Waiguru of her duties. Today, let me finish.
No, the public record isn't
today.
that. Anne Waiguru told the country that she left that job because of health reasons. Yes. There's no day that the president came and said, today I have fired Anne Waiguru because of NYS.
Joe, Kimayo left, Onalengo left, they didn't tell the people anything. You don't know what goes on. Because you guys are out in government, you don't know what
No, but wouldn't it send a very...
Government is a public body.
Just a minute, Mheshimiwa. Wouldn't it send a very powerful message, Honorable Duale, if the President of the Republic came to the country and said, today I have fired this person?
You know, you're very unfair. You allow my colleague to speak more without more interjections. You need to allow me to have my space. I think you need to be very fair. There are many ways in which...
I'm just challenging you basic things.
There are many ways in which you can be sent home. You can go home through your own exit package, even in this kind of an organization. There are many arrangements that makes you go home. You can be sacked by the president through a public notice. He can call you and say, because of your mere allegation, step aside and appoint an acting minister.
So Waiguru fired.
So, from where I sit, Anne Waiguru was fired.
Wow.
Two, and let me tell you, two, what she told the people of Kenya is a different thing. Because I'm sitting here as the leader of majority. Secondly, the Public Accounts Committee, chaired by his neighbor, the member for Arieda, Nicholas Gumbo, has been sitting on that file for 2 years. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 21 days, you can investigate and bring a report. Why is his chair sitting on that file? Does he want to sit on the file until the current parliament goes home and the report becomes redundant? There's a total failure, you know.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that directly?
Hold your horses. Okay. You know, the president and us, and I have told you, over 100 senior members of our government, cabinet secretaries, chief of staff, permanent secretaries, on mere allegations, we said step aside. No government has done. In fact, for his information, when Charity Ngilu was involved in serious scandal when she was the Minister for Water in 2010, Raila Odinga, who was her party leader then, flew to Kitui and defended Charity Ngilu. When Amason Kingi was involved in corruption, just a few days after the purported scandal in the health sector...
You defended Waiguru.
No.
You defended Waiguru.
On the health sector.
You defended Waiguru the first time and said it was propaganda.
Let me finish.
But you made an allegation.
Raila Odinga went to White Sands Hotel and said, that is an interim report. The same for Muraguri, it's an interim report. Well, you know, you cannot.
But suppose Raila was wrong. Joe, let me just answer this. Suppose Raila did that. Two wrongs don't make a right. Raila is not the head of state. Just a minute.
Can you accept that Raila Odinga abets corruption?
No, it does not. It does, in fact, he's the one who has unearthed Eurobond.
No. You must.
How can somebody?
You must go on record and say Raila Odinga.
No, you don't tell me what to say on national television.
In 2010,
it will not
defended.
happen.
Okay, let him make his points. Then
But I wanted to correct something because, you know, Dwele is running on too many
you
lanes.
want to run away from the facts.
But now let me tell Dwele, you know, Public Accounts Committee is a political investigative body. There are Dwele should know
Another excuse.
that he is, and I hope the report that Gumbo tables tomorrow, Thursday, the 17th or the 16th, I hope that report has also investigated.
The one that he says you've been sitting on.
Exactly, it's coming
yes.
tomorrow. So it hasn't even been. Let me just let him know because
They're bringing because I raised it.
No, it's okay.
I wrote it to
You have to do that. You know, you are talking as if members of your party don't sit in that committee. That committee, CORD has only one person more. You see, the fact that we chair it, but the truth is they have finished their work.
On that report for 2 years?
You should ask your members.
No,
You ask
as a
your members
chair,
because
it's a
they were there. Remember when Waiguru was
It is
called?
the chair to table
Remember
the
when Waiguru was called? The so-called friends of the committee. The people he sent there to go and defend Waiguru. That was before Waiguru said she had something on him and Murkomen. Remember? Then after they said Waiguru is this. In fact, one of them, I think Murkomen, even said this woman must go. That time the gloves were off. It was bare knuckle. But the truth is that report is ready, and I want to tell majority leader.
The friends of the committee. What are you doing now? You have sent 20 friends of the committee from your party to defend the Auditor General when he's under investigation.
To protect him so that he can produce the Eurobond report. So that he can produce the theft of your problem. You know, Uko is being hounded out of it because of two reasons. The Eurobond, the 283 billion stolen by his closest people at his leadership level, and the OP theft of the so-called police insurance. And Ouko must release that report.
Why can't you say it in Parliament?
Yeah, there's nothing before Parliament.
Why can't
you wait, I will raise. But let Ouko produce the report. You cannot deny the Auditor General a chance to go and look for public funds.
Let me give
you stolen by the state of New York.
We'll just take a short break. Yeah. We'll be right back. We are going on with our conversation here about the State of the Nation address by the President earlier this afternoon. And as you can see, an interesting debate here between the two gentlemen from the National Assembly. We'll be right back after this break.